public speaking, like despises it with a passion. So the fact that I just did that to her, I will hear about this. I will hear about this for days. All right, well, very good. Well, thank you, Linda. I appreciate that for just a second. So, anyways, I wanted to start off with today with a couple of questions, right? So we've already talked a little bit about the fact that I help our clients both accumulate, protect, and transfer their wealth. But let's talk a little bit about that and what that actually means. So first, I'd like to start off with a little game of fact or fiction, right? I don't want to do truth or dare because that could get dangerous, right? So we'll start with fact or fiction, okay? So the first question, and feel free to answer out loud, talk amongst yourselves, it's fine. Number one is nearly 60% of working individuals have calculated how much they will need for retirement. Very good. This is a smart group. I knew it would be. So that absolutely is true. Do you know that less than half of the people, 38% of our population, knows exactly how much money they need to retire, right? So many of our employers do a wonderful job of giving us that little speedometer, right? You can log into your Transamerica or your Prudential 401k, and they'll give you that little speedometer that says, we think you're on track, we think we know what's going on here, keep on saving like you are, and you're doing great. I've been in this industry for some time, and I've not seen a single one of these calculators dead fall on the red to tell someone, oh no, this is not appropriate in any way, shape, or form. They want, and those calculators a lot of times are a little biased because they want you to continue adding and saving, which adding and saving, of course, to our retirement is huge and a big part of accumulating financial wealth. Number two, women are about 3 times as likely as men to report that they have had to quit their job in order to care for a family member. That exactly. As mothers, as daughters, as sisters, almost every time it will fall on our shoulders to take care of our parents, to take care of another elderly person. And many times you hear about the fact that we are in this sandwich generation where there are so many people who are not only taking care of their parents, but they're also taking care of their children. And when we start pushing and burning the candle at both ends, all of a sudden we begin to see a lot of significant declines, both in health, in wealth. A lot of times we're spending more than what we ever thought because we're taking care of essentially 2 families versus 1. So this, as women, is something we have to be conscious of, and we really have to pay attention to how this is affecting ourselves, our family, our wealth, and our well-being. All right, number 3. Nearly 60% of women will be solely responsible for their finances at one point in time. So surprisingly, that's fiction. 80 to 90% of all women will ultimately be financially responsible for their home, their wealth, their savings at one point in time. Facts are facts, right? Ladies, we live longer than our men, okay? I don't know what that says about us, but we live longer than our men, when we're looking historically. And when I think about sometimes where I am in a situation where I am hosting a meeting with a couple, both a husband and a wife, and sometimes the husband comes in and he has all the answers, and he answers and talks, and he has the plan, and he knows what's going on. And I will pivot through that conversation, and I will turn to the wife, and I will say, what's most important to you? When we talk about all of these things, your stocks, your bonds, your income, everything that we're doing, what's most important to you? And more importantly, what are you most scared of? And what does he not know that keeps you up at night? And that is really important because as women, we have to be equal partners and on the same playing field when it comes to money. If you can turn over that responsibility, and I know that turning over responsibility sometimes to our male counterparts can be a difficult situation, period. But if you have the ability to turn over that burden, or knowing that, hey, he pays the bills and I don't have to worry about it, that's wonderful. That's appreciated. conversations with your spouse, and you need to be on the same playing field for everything when it comes to your finances. What you're spending today, how much you're saving, what retirement is going to look like, and how you are going to be able to live out those retirement dreams that you have. So, when I'm talking with people regarding their financial health, I typically am using a 5-step process. And this process is very unique in the respect that, if you notice, it's a circle, which means it never changes. When we talk about our goals and what we're trying to accomplish, the very first thing is we have to figure out where we are today. That's very important. Where are we today? What have we saved? What are we doing towards saving? How are we creating wealth for ourselves? And then we have to have a defined goal, right? You can't have a dream of being able to retire in a certain manner and not know what that goal is and not know how much it will cost to be able to have that goal. So then, number 3 is where I intimately get involved, is helping create those strategies or plans to make sure that that end goal is successful. The 4th step is creating that plan and then executing it. How do I get there? I have to do X, Y, and Z to be able to meet that goal. And lastly, we want to make sure that we're staying on track, because all the best laid plans, there's bumps along the road, and we have to understand that we have to figure out strategies and ways to be able to move around those. All right, so more questions, right? This is very interactive today. So, first question, when we're thinking about where I am today and kind of getting a gauge on our financial picture, one of the first things that we need to talk about is I need to know, and you need to think in your head, how much money do I need to spend every month? Think about your mortgage, your utilities, your food, your clothing, education, entertainment, and insurance. These are all things that go into our daily part of planning. I also want us to know and think about, and as women, sometimes we're not as good about this as our male counterparts, but know the location and amount of all of your investments. How much cash do you have? What is in your emergency savings? CDs, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, real estate. All of this is an important part of our portfolio, and everyone involved in the family should have a very distinct knowledge of where all of those investments are. Emergency cash. Linda will attest that she hears me talk about emergency cash all the time. If you come and say, let's start investing, and I would like to buy Amazon today, which is great, and I will support that, but in the same respect, if we don't have emergency cash, do you know the very first thing that you're going to go to when the transmission goes out of the car, or you need a new refrigerator? If you don't have emergency cash, that wonderful stock that you've been systematically buying month after month after month will evaporate because we don't have our emergency savings. So making sure that a financial goal of having at least 6 months worth of our monthly bills in savings is very important to your financial strategies. Know how much you're saving for retirement. How much is your company matching? What are those values? How do they set in line with those long-term goals? How many of us know exactly what our Social Security benefit? For those of you who are not on Social Security, can you raise your hand and tell me I know exactly what my Social Security check is going to be? She's worth her weight in gold, people. So, yes, okay, so we have a wonderful student in here. Let's debunk a myth, though, for just a second. How many people are worried about their Social Security? How many people are worried that Social Security may not be there when we get there? Now see all the hands go up in the room. So first of all, we know that Social Security is not, it's not a bucket of money that's being set aside for each of us. We do not have our individual Social Security account sitting somewhere in the government. Today, for those of you, anyone in the room who is on Social Security, my wage and all the workers are helping pay your benefit. When I am of Social Security age, my children, my grandchildren will be paying my benefit. So as long as there are people working, there will always be Social Security. Now, will it look and feel the same as it does today? Probably not. There will be adjustments to Social Security. But this is one of the most scary things. I recognize that there's going to be adjustments to my Social Security because I'm 40 years old, okay? But on the flip side, people typically who are closer to retirement start to get really, really nervous about Social Security and what's going to happen. Will our administration change Social Security and all of a sudden my check will just vanish? Do you know that you were grandfathered into your Social Security at age 55? So as long as you are 55 years of age, regardless of what the administration does to Social Security, you are grandfathered in. Does that give you a little bit of solace? Help a little bit? Okay, promise, Social Security checks will be there. Sorry, that was a little bit of a rabbit hole, but that's really important for everybody to know. And then also think about insurance, how much coverage you have, what that looks like, and making sure you have enough. If you were lost today, if, God forbid, there was an accident on the way home, would your children be able to go to college? Would your house be able to be paid off? Would your family, of course they're going to suffer dramatically if you're not here, but long term, what would be that trickle down effect of you not being here today? Make sure that your insurance needs are covered. I cannot tell you how much tragedy has swept into families' lives because they were undercovered when it comes to life insurance. Okay, let's get off that topic because that's not any fun. All right, so 5 questions that you need to ask when making a commitment or a connection to your financial goals. This is kind of number 2 in that little circle that we went through. Where would I like to be? And think about this. Think about those core values. What's most important to you? Is it freedom? Is it financial security? Is it happiness? Is it family? Is it helping others, independence, self-reliance, or being a part of a community? These are all some of the most important values that a lot of people put in front of describing and creating their retirement goal. When I'm trying to achieve a long-term wealth goal, it's not usually a dollar amount. It's based on what's most important to you. If spending time with my grandchildren is the most important thing on your list, then we need to create a financial plan that I can get you to your grandchildren wherever they may be as quick and as often as possible. Common goals. So, common goals, we need to make sure that preparing for retirement, are we in the right spot to meet our goals? Have we been able to pay down our mortgage or pay down any debt that we have? Have we created an income stream to live in retirement so that we can keep our lifestyle the same while enjoying travel and some of the other things that might go along with the lifestyle that we want to create in retirement? Are we able to pay for education for children or grandchildren? Are we able to plan for the unexpected, the loss of job, disability, a long-term care event, or have we thought through the planning of your estate? So these are all important parts when goal creating. When I ask someone to create a goal, I want it to be a SMART goal. And what does SMART mean? SMART, the S in SMART stands for specific. Get real with that number, with that vision, okay? I will tell you what my retirement goal is, okay? You're going to laugh at me, but when I am able to retire, health staying with me, right, and that I can do this, I want to sell every single thing. I want to buy that giant motorhome that passes you on 81, and I want to tour all over the United States and Canada, right? You may find me in a Walmart parking lot at age 67. It might happen, right? But that's what I want to do. I have a very specific goal. I want to be able to travel in my very cool motorhome, okay? Now, as Linda says, throw in a couple of grandchildren and that plan might change, but right now that's my vision. But it's specific, right? So I want you to have a very specific goal. It has to be measurable. We can have a fictitious goal. I mean, my fictitious goal could be, living in one of those little huts in Tahiti, right? That would be really fun. But in the same respect, if I don't know how much it costs to move and live in that hut and what the income has to be on a very small island where Coca-Cola is $7 a bottle, these are things that we have to understand. So make sure your goal is measurable, okay? A, in SMART, is it achievable? Is it possible? I might be able to swing this motorhome if I sell my house and all that good stuff, but I don't know that I could achieve the Tahiti hut goal. So, Relevant. Will it lead to a meaningful result? And that's really, really important. I personally think my long-term vision of taking that motorhome around the U.S., it could be a little selfish, right? Where others might be, I want to be available for my family. I want to serve my grandchildren. I want to serve my community. I want to be active. It really depends on, in your core, what is most important to you. And then we want to make sure that we have an appropriate time frame and if our SMART goal is achievable during that time. Now, how do I get there? All right, we're on step 4 of the circle. So that's kind of where I come into play when creating a plan. And there's a lot of different things that we can talk about here, but what I wanted to really touch on today was the rule of 72. Does anybody know about the rule of 72? The rule of 72 is really specific that it says if you take dividing 72 by the rate of return equals the appropriate amount of years it takes for you to double your money, okay? For example, and I know this is kind of small, so I'll read it out for you guys. Example 1 says, how long will it take for me to double my money at blank percent? So if we're going to assume a 4% rate of return, I take 72 divided by 4, and that will tell me at a 4% rate of return, it will take me 18 years to double my money. So for all of us that have CDs at the bank that are making less than 1% right now, do that math in our head, right? It's going to take a really long time for that to capital appreciate. Example number 2, we can kind of switch it around, change the numbers, right? We're doing a math lesson here today. What rate of return will I need to make my money double in blank years? So you just switch the math around. Assume I have a 10-year time horizon. I'm going to take 72 divided by 10, and that means that I'm going to have to get a 7.2% return. Now this year, the stock market, even though we've had a couple of bumps in the road the last 2 Mondays, for the most part, the S&P right now has yielded about a double-digit return, closer to that 18 to 20% mark. So that would be very doable in this market, but we know last year when the market was pulled back in December that we didn't have those double-digit returns. So you kind of have to plan about those type of things. Example number 3. We'll do one more math problem, and then we'll actually 2 more, and then we'll stop doing math because no one likes to do math at 11 o'clock in the morning. So in example number 3, assume you have a 9% rate of return over 32 years. So again, I'm going to use that same simple math. I'm going to take 72 divided by 9%. That means it will take 8 years to double our money. So think about that. I asked in the beginning, who needs hundreds of thousands of dollars to have a financial advisor? Well, sure, those people need it, but so does everyone in this room. Because under this example, $1,000 turns into $2,000, or $8,000 turns into $16,000 over that course of that 7 to 8 years. So it's doable, but you just have to start. Start with something, and that something will grow to something of significance. And then the last example, which so many of my friends are talking about with children that are my age, is paying for education. If I have Bree here who is 6 years old, and it's 12 years until she goes to college, I'm going to have to take 72 divided by 12 to receive or know that I need to achieve a 6% rate of return in my portfolio to be able to help fund Bree's education expenses. Okay? So kind of the rule of 72, you guys have learned a little bit about that. So when you're thinking about where you are, and how many of y'all are doing math right now, you know how much is in your 401k, and you're thinking, okay, I've got this many years, and what do I have to do, and what's that going to look like? This math always starts stimulating those type of things. So, how do I get there? This is the strategic plan. How do I help here? And the very best way to be able to achieve these financial goals, whether they're for short term, whether it's 10 years down the road where I need to build a little bit of wealth to be able to buy another house, or maybe I want a boat, or anything that you can dream of. Maybe it's that motor home that I'm thinking about, right? How do I get there? I have to develop a strategy. And that strategy, the core strategy, is systematic investing. And what is systematic investing? Systematic investing are the 4 C's, okay? The first is convenience. When I ask someone to systematically invest, that means that I'm going to ask somebody to invest $100 a month, right? Every single month. You've heard of the old adage that you have to pay yourself first, right? Who pays their car payment every single month, right? Who pays their mortgage every single month? You are a bill. You have to be able to achieve wealth. You have to be able to have money for retirement. You have to have emergency savings. You have financial needs and means. And you have to create yourself as a bill, just like any of your other utilities or groceries, things that you have to do. So create yourself as a monthly bill that I am going to pay myself for things that I need or want later down the road. So systematically making that commitment to putting $100 a month, $500 a month, $50 a month, whatever it is, it allows us the convenience. It takes the procrastination out, okay? Because how many of us said, I really got to make a commitment to emergency cash. I'm going to put $50 a week into my savings account. I'm going to do it. And then it never happens, right? Allow yourself to be put in a position where convenience takes over and you don't have to think about it. 2, consistency. Regardless of market movements, you are accumulating shares continuously and consistently. This helps take the emotion out of investing and eliminates the worry of trying to time the market, okay? Now, who of us gets nervous when you come home from work and you turn on the news and you hear words like crash and plummet, right? Did we hear that this week, or especially last Monday? Every news media broadcasting system was saying these words that they're cringeworthy. They really made us scared. An 800-point drop in the market. That sounds scary. But you know, and realistically, the market only went down 3%. If I went into Belk right now and I saw this blazer, which is a true story, I did go into Belk and found a blazer that I really, really like. But if there is a sign on this blazer that says, hey, today only, this blazer is 3% off, who would get really excited about that? Now, that blazer has a 40% sign on it right now and making it more enticing, right? So you have to get and put the perception that when the market goes down, it's just on sale, right? And when we are systematically investing, we are getting the market on sale times. We're getting the market at full price sometimes, but we're getting different price points as we go, which makes our overall cost basis in our investments to be much, much less than timing the market and trying to pick one day out of the year to say, I'm going to drop some money into the market today and see what it does. It might be at an all-time high, might be at a low. You might not know what that day looks like. Choice, the 3rd C. You can systematically invest into mutual funds, into annuities, even individual stocks. So there's lots, and cash. Lots of my clients invest in cash and help that create that emergency fund strategy. And you have complete and total control. You focus on what you can control, investing a set dollar amount on a regular basis rather than questioning if you can or can't, or if there's volatility or not in the market. Other ways to create thought process behind how do we get there is leveraging all financial aspects that are available to you. Such as examples is in looking and investing in our employer-sponsored plans, such as our 401ks, our 403s, our 457s. These all offer tax-deferred growth. They are pre-tax contributions and possibly the employer that matches those contributions. The cons typically of this investment type of choice, that the investment structure itself might be somewhat limited. The Roth IRA, which is one of my favorites. The Roth IRA allows you to put money in and grow tax-free. If I grow my 401k over a lifetime and I retire and there's $500,000 in my 401k and I'm really excited and feel so good about that accomplishment and realize that 30% of that money is not mine, it belongs to the state of Virginia and Uncle Sam, all of a sudden it makes you think I might have to work a couple more years, right? The Roth IRA is the exact opposite. Every dollar inside of your Roth IRA is 100% tax-free, which is a huge benefit. It also has tax-free withdrawals, as long as you've held the account for at least 5 years. And you have the flexibility to start pulling money out at age 59 and a half, which is the same as your 401k. Lots of different ranges of investment options, and it also has the benefit that we can transfer that tax-free growth to another generation. The cons are the eligibility to contribute depends on your income. So we get a little bit of a stick there. The traditional IRA is a way to complement your 401k, where again, you have very close similarities of tax deferred growth, contributions each and every year, which may or may not be tax deductible for you, but it is subject to income limits, and the government puts caps on how much we can put into our IRAs each year, and that is one of the cons. All right, we're closing up. It is important that if you are thinking about these type of things, I'm going to ask you to act now, because the cost of waiting is real. For example, let's pretend like Denise is putting her $5,500 into an IRA. I don't care if it's Roth or traditional. She's putting $5,500 in a year, okay? If she started at age 30 and did the 55 until she was age 65, she would have a balance, assuming, I think this is assuming a 7% rate of return, she would have a balance of $906,000 by starting to fund her Roth IRA at age 30. But if she just waited 3 more years, that value drops from $960 to $730. All right? Leah's over here. Denise is smart, right? She started in her 30s. Leah started at age 35. So her value, she's putting in the exact same amount of money, getting the same amount of return, but her starting at age 35 yielded a value at age 65 of only $631. And if she waited until age 38, that value drops to $505. Still impressive. It's $500,000. So that's very good. But even more, here's Leslie. Leslie started at age 40, put the same amount in every single year, got the same rate of return, and at age 65, $434,000. While that is impressive, and who wouldn't want to have $434,000 in a Roth IRA, tax-free, that they can use in retirement, that's an amazing thing, but the cost of waiting is real. Start young, start as early as you can. And there are women in this room that I know are thinking, I'm not 30, I'm not 40, and I'm not 50. I am maybe a little bit behind the 8 ball. Talk to your children. Talk to your children, talk to your grandchildren. When I say that anyone should have and can have a financial advisor, every 18-year-old should be starting to put something away for themselves and paying themselves every month like a normal bill. So, staying on track, and a good way to gauge ourselves and make sure that we are on track and have the right plan is create those goals. Create short-term goals and long-term goals to make sure you're staying on track. Give yourself that 48-hour decision, right? In the next 48 hours, I'm going to commit to systematically investing. In the next 48 hours, I'm going to call a financial advisor, and I am going to ask to set an appointment. Give yourself an action item in the next 48 hours. In the next week, gather the information that you're going to need to be able to either have that appointment or create the momentum and things that you need to be able to do that. And then in 2 weeks, create a monthly budget. Understand what type of savings you are able to save at this point in time. And in a month, you're prepared to go in and be able to sit down with a financial advisor and have a true conversation about your long-term goals and creating a strategy to get there. And in a year, you're going to review those goals and see if you're on track. All right? Well, ladies, I appreciate, and gentlemen, there are gentlemen in the room, I truly appreciate everything today. I'm so glad we were able to gather today. I'm thankful for Kim for putting this together. On your table, positivity, you can throw both of them in there on today and kind of let me know what your thoughts and feelings are. And if there's any desire for additional information, you can also add that on there as well. Please do fill out your name and phone number and address on the bottom, and if you'll put it on my table, there's a bin there. I will draw one of these for $100. I'm going to say 1,000. We are getting excited already. We will draw for $100 Visa gift card after this event. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
For your fees.
That is a great question, but that is also a very lengthy explanation that I think would probably be best on a one-on-one. When it comes to advice, right? If you have a financial advisor that you can sit down with and goal plan and sit face to face, that advice does come with costs, and we have to understand that. And I'd love to be able to chat with you about that one-on-one.